The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
To dig deeper into the new working trends and models that have emerged after the pandemic, for over a year the whole world has been in a strict lockdown and millions of people had to stay at home for work. This was a grand-scale experiment since nobody knew if companies or countries would function properly with offices shut down. This was an inspiration for Dutch researcher and leading human resources consultant Kilian Wawoe, who wrote a book based on his survey that was conducted around the world, including in Georgia. Mr. Wawoe was recently in Georgia and talked with us about the prospects of a post-pandemic working environment. As Mr. Wawoe's research shows, the hybrid working model is here to stay, but the managers have to make correct decisions when choosing future models of their companies. Hello, Mr. Wawoe, how are you?
Good morning, I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Your research and book has been published in Georgian. Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah. So for the last 10 years, I've been working as a human resources consultant here in Georgia. And what I wanted to do during the pandemic is study how people feel when they work from home and ask them the question, what do you think we should do after the pandemic? So for the last 2 years, I've been studying working from home, or remote working, if you like. So my book is about the future of work and what did we learn during the pandemic about working from home.
So main issues your book revolves around are employee growth, autonomy and relatedness. Why do you think these are the main pillars of workplace cooperation, and what effect did COVID-19 have on all of this?
Yeah, so if I would have to make, let's say, a constitution of work, so what are the things that really matter when you work? What people value is that they have a feeling of growing, that they learn something, that they achieve something, that's one. That they are related to others, so that they feel part of something bigger, and that they have autonomy, meaning that they have the room to professionally decide how to do their work. Now, before the pandemic, we already knew that these three things are super important. Yeah, you have to grow at work, you need to be connected, and you need to have some self-direction, autonomy. Now, what we found during the pandemic is that some people find it extremely helpful to work from home because they feel they're growing, they feel they have more autonomy, they're actually very much related to the rest of their family, and there are other people that have very much difficulties in working from home. So the difference between the group that likes to work from home and the group that doesn't like to work from home is huge. Now, what we found is that specifically young people, so people who recently joined a company, that for them remote working is much more difficult than the people who are much more senior. So there is a huge difference between, let's say, ages or generations when it comes to working from home. So that's one of the major findings.
So most of the office workers had to stay at home for over a year. What toll can it have on the mental health and physical health of millions of employees?
Yeah. So what I've noticed is that the mental health of people differs a lot. So if I may speak for myself, so me and my generation, people who have families, who have nice houses, who have good Wi-Fi, I have my own working space in my home. I have a lot of friends, family. I've been working, for instance, in Georgia for more than 10 years. For me, it's okay not to see my connections for a year. You know, I didn't go to Georgia for more than a year, which is special for me, and that was no problem. So for people like me, in terms of mental health, it was actually a nice time to work from home. I had much more time for myself and my family. But for other people, it's extremely difficult. So I found that especially younger people, people who are single, people who have small houses, people who do not have so much experience, for them working from home is much more difficult. So to answer your question, for one group it's great, and for the other group it's super difficult.
And in your opinion, is remote working model sustainable in the period after pandemic? And what questions should managers ask before choosing future model of their organization or division?
Yeah. If you ask me, is it here to stay remote working? My answer would be yes. I think, although I love to come to Georgia, we can work much more with Zoom and team calls than we did in the past. We don't need to travel that much. Yeah, we can travel less. We can have less traffic jams here in Tbilisi. If we organize things a little bit better, we have a better work-life balance. We have less traveling, which is good for work-life balance and for the environment. However, I think a lot of companies now that I speak to in Georgia, they say, they ask their employees, how many days per week do you think you want to come to the office? And I think this question has three mistakes. First of all, it's not about you or me, it's about us. It's not about the me, it's about the we. Working is something collective. It's not about what you want, but what you actually should do. And it's not about how many days, but what are we going to do? So I think the question is not after the pandemic, how often are we going to the office? The question is, if we are in the office, what are we going to do? So for instance, if you and I are colleagues and I'm sitting with my noise cancelling headset in a corner with my 25 years of experience, you cannot learn from me and I cannot be connected to you, which is maybe for me not a problem, but might be a problem for you. So I think to answer your question, what is work going to look like after the pandemic? We need to think about when we are in the office, what is going to happen? And I think, and it's the same what we talked about in the beginning, work is a place where we connect. So we lunch together, we meet together, we drink tea together. It is a place where we learn from each other. So it's a place where I learn you and you coach me. And it's a place where I can decide myself how I do my work. So work is a place where we should connect and learn.
And can the hybrid model be the most balanced one, or does it depend on the type of the organization? And what main recommendations would you give to companies going forward?
Yeah, I think, yes, it depends, of course, a lot on the kind of organization that you have, but I think the hybrid model is here to stay. Also, I'm not only a consultant, but also a university professor. We will give more online lectures. We will more work with remote teaching. I think that, for instance, in hospitals, we will have more online consults instead of letting somebody travel for a day to just for 10 minutes talk with a doctor. So the hybrid model is here to stay, for sure. But we really need to think about when we are in the office, what are we going to do? And I think a lot of people now say to me, our office is going to be a place for fun, or it's a place where we are, it's like a coffee bar or a clubhouse, but I think it's more like a mind gym. It's a place where you come in, you learn something, somebody coaches you, and where you actually help each other to develop. So I think my main recommendation is don't ask your people what they want, but have a vision of what you think you need. That's, I think, the most important thing for managers. Think about what work is really, what it's really there for. And it's not to entertain your people. Yeah, we don't need, all these fun factor things in the work. It's a serious thing, and have a vision about work. And if I may give everybody an advice, it's a place where people coach each other and are connected. So it's a mind gym where you grow and where you make sure that people learn from each other.
Thank you for your answers.
Got it.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.